We'll call the meeting to order and welcome everyone. If you would at this time, please turn off your telephones, your pagers. Also, the meeting tonight will be broadcast on Friday at 8 o'clock, Saturday at 2 o'clock, and Sunday at 8 o'clock. We do have a change on the agenda. Under consent agenda, I'd like for you to take F and you'll place that under unfinished business. This is declare certain property as surplus. That's the only change to the proposed agenda. At this time, I'd like for us to stand to pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time, Pastor Don Laws of New Beginnings Church in Swannanoa will do our invocation. Don, you'll come forward.
Y'all will bow your heads, please. Father, we thank you for this day, Lord, you've given us, Lord, and Father, being able to stand here before this congregation. Many of my friends, Lord, I've known for many years, Lord. And Father, we pray that you would work with this board, Lord, that they put you number one in their life, Lord, and they look to you to make their decisions, Lord, not man. And Father, we pray that you'd have your way in this meeting, Lord, and we give you all the honor and praise and glory. For it's in your sweet and loving name we do pray. Amen.
Thank you, Don. So maybe you may recognize Don. Don spent about 50 years with the town of Black Mountain. This time I'd like to do a proclamation of Black History Month. Whereas in 1976, Black History Month was formally adopted to honor and affirm the importance of Black history throughout our American experience and serves to promote cultural enrichment, ethnic pride, and self-esteem by celebrating the lives and achievements of great African Americans. And whereas Black History Month will be observed in our community throughout the month, and whereas this observance affords the special opportunity to become more knowledgeable about Black heritage and to honor many Black leaders who have contributed to the progress of our nation, state, and city. Whereas such knowledge can strengthen the insight of all our citizens regarding the issues of human rights, the great strides that have been made in the crusade to eliminate the barriers of equality for minority groups, and the continuing struggle against racial discrimination and poverty. I, Carl Bartlett, Mayor of the town of Black Mountain, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2012 as Black History Month in North Carolina, in Black Mountain, North Carolina, and urge all citizens to assist, encourage, and participate in scheduled activities, and to join together in making this a period of rededication to the principles of justice and equality for all people.
Mr. Mayor, might I make a comment, please,
yes,
in regards to that? This past Saturday, we had the Martin Luther King breakfast down at Camp Dorothy Walls a week ago Saturday. And the minister that came and gave the invocation there was Reverend Love. She heads up the bridges, building bridges in Asheville. And her main point in that speech, and it's kind of like Father says at church, you know, if you can remember one point that I made during this sermon, 2 days later you're doing good. Well, a week later I still remember what she said that just made such an impact, and that is, blessed are the peacemakers. Because that's exactly what Dr. King was. That's exactly what that message that he tried to spread says. And I think, though, that this is exactly, it was almost like it was tailor-made to the people that were there, because this is the town of Black Mountain that's had to go through a lot of hurt, and now we're healing, we're coming together. And that's what the message is. Work together, not by yourselves, work with everyone else. I think the ad that was on the Super Bowl also hit onto that point about how the combination of people working together. Here, our largest industry in America, the auto industry, is coming back. I certainly can't say it as well as it was put on the TV that night, but people working together, public and private partnerships. I think that's the message that I got from that. And I hope that that's the way that all of us will continue to work in the months and years to come.
Thank you. We welcome Boy Scout Troop 60, who's with us tonight.
Yes, sir. I'd like to say I was also at the prayer breakfast, and what she said hit home to all of us. One of the things that has been stated about this past election was what it was supposed to mean, as far as not listening to this one, not listening to that one, and doing what you feel is right. My goal, and I think that of Maggie and this whole board, is to conduct these meetings professionally, with dignity and openness. And I think we've been making some great strides on that in the last couple of meetings, and I know we've still got a little ways to go. But that was the meaning of that election, is people in this town want to see all of us conducting ourselves with kindness toward each other and respect and dignity. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay. This time we have citizen comments. Phil Bassesi.
Town Council and fellow citizens. I'm Phil Bassesi. I live at 15 Highview Drive here in Black Mountain. And I'll get right to it. This morning I attended a meeting. The organization is called GROW, Western North Carolina. It's funded with $1.6 million of HUD money through the Land of Sky Regional Council. It's an ambitious program to create a regional vision and strategies for economic prosperity, quality growth, sustainable development. By building existing plans and strategies to ensure extensive public involvement, recognize interrelationships between land use, energy, national and cultural resources, health, housing, and transportation choices. Now, that's a little bit of something by everyone. Later on, I'll get to why I said by instead of for. So the consortium is of local governments, economic development entities, nonprofits, businesses, and other organizations. And some individuals like myself who just like to volunteer and stretch the mind. But the study includes the 5 counties, Buncombe, Haywood, Henderson, Madison, and Transylvania, so that together we can create our future. And that's what it's all about, is creating our future. If we invest our vision and creativity, we will have a good future. If we just wait for a federal handout and take whatever they give us, we won't. Asheville has proved that. They have a vision of what they want to do. They develop the plan, then work the plan. That's what this organization is all about, is having a plan, having people think of how can we be the best 5 counties in the whole country. We're already there in one respect. We have more renewable energy per capita in these 5 counties than anywhere else in the country. So the vision of what Western North Carolina can be is not a tourist mecca, not that we're going to make our money by selling McMansions to Floridians, but that we're going to work together. Transportation is a big part of it. We ought to be able to get anywhere. Get out of your house, get on a little sidewalk, walk to the greenways, talk to your neighbors. All of these community building things involve regional planning. So I'd like you to think about endorsing that. I'd like town council to join this organization. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa Watson.
Teresa Watson, 5 Watson Road, Swananoa, and my comments are regarding the grant application on behalf of Eagles. I looked up the words public infrastructure, and the definition is a term that describes infrastructure that is owned by the public and/or is for public use. So I'd like to know from the Board of Aldermen, what about the private driveway at Ingalls is public infrastructure? I have for you a copy of our easement with Ingalls agreement with Norfolk Southern, and a letter for the Department of Commerce. If you'll look on page 3 of our access agreement with Ingalls, you will see that the crossing shall not be permitted to become a highway for the use of the public. If you'll look on Norfolk Southern's agreement with Ingalls, you will see that the crossing shall not become a highway for the use of the public. I don't read anything in these 2 access agreements that allows for making this driveway public or allows for it to be owned by the town. Actually, they are quite clear that access is restricted. If you'll look at the letter from the Department of Commerce, question number 3, it states that the proposed rail crossing road improvements would be owned by the town via an easement. The town or company could not restrict any citizen from using the rail crossing road improvements to access the Ingalls site. Let me state for the record that the Department of Commerce is mistaken. You cannot own property via an easement, and access is already restricted by legal binding documents. Even if the town owns some portion of the Ingalls entrance, they cannot cross our property to get to it because the town does not have an easement. The facts are very clear. This entrance has never been intended for public use. In my opinion, there is no need for a public hearing on the 27th because there is, by definition, no public infrastructure to be built here. The aldermen should rescind their vote and move on. If the town and Ingalls are serious about applying for this grant, they need to start all over from the beginning.
Thank you. Kathy Robertson.
Thank you. Kathy Robertson, 109 Briarbrook Road. Most everyone here is aware that I have spent time over the last 2 months researching the CDBG application that was voted forward by our board in December. I've questioned the process and, as a result, realized that the proposed use for this grant was outside of the intended guidelines. Mrs. Watson has just confirmed that this particular application should die a natural death and be left in peace. Ingalls has had the construction of those safer private entrances planned since 2008. Let's let them go forward as originally planned without using taxpayer money to pay for it. However, there is still a CDBG economic development money out there. At this time, I would suggest that the board move forward in the spirit of the economic development guidelines and form a citizens committee tasked with finding ways that our town can honestly and legitimately make use of these funds. We should be exploring opportunities for other businesses to be able to put these funds to use to bring new jobs, additional jobs, to our town. This grant is not locked at $750,000. 1 or more applications for smaller amounts can be made use for by other businesses or by the town itself. There are maybe many ways that we can still take advantage of this economic stimulus opportunity. We can start with basic needs assessments and go from there. In this way, we can have citizens working together with elected officials, as Alderman Sobel suggests, to create positive changes here in Black Mountain. I've had dozens of emails and phone calls in response to my findings over the last few days, and one thing is very clear. With all the differences of opinions out there, everyone is agreed that we expect transparency and honesty from our town officials. We know that, working openly and together, the citizens and the board can ensure that the laws and regulations are followed, and that those who attempt to circumvent them be held accountable. In the spirit of this accountability, I respectfully request that Mayor Bartlett resign effective immediately. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan Green.
Honorable Mayor, Board of Aldermen, Alan Green, 335 Lookout Terrace. Don't have a lot to say tonight, just a few things. I'm getting a little bit concerned about some of the spending that we are doing. I'm getting concerned about the budget. I know we have to spend, but I want to make sure that we spend we got to do frugal spending is what we have to do. I know our emergency fund has been tapped into, and it has gotten pretty low. And I'm a little concerned about that. The emergency fund is an emergency fund, and we should build it back up and use it when for what it's for. Thank you for dropping the tax, the garbage tax. I do appreciate that. But I know with the spending that we see and concerns that we have, we don't need to be thinking about any tax in the near future. We still have a recession going on. We are all still hurting, and increasing taxes is not going to do us any good. We can find ways. We can actually bring business into this town and get some tax revenue if you just start looking at a few things. Now, second thing I wanted to talk about was the town hall meetings. Thank you, Mr. Showers. I appreciate you doing those. A couple of years ago, I had made mentions to the Board of Aldermen, as you all will recall, and I asked the question, why are we not having town hall meetings? I want to be able to talk to each and every one of you here, not via internet all the time or phone calls all the time. I want to be able to sit down and look you in the eye face to face, and you see what I am concerned and what the rest of the concerns of these people are. I challenge the rest of you to do what this man has taken the bold step to do. And I understand that you had a good meeting and that it was in line, and I hope to attend them in the future, and I want to thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Gay Fox. Bob McMurray.
I'm Bob McMurray, Executive Director of the Black Mountain Swannanoa Chamber of Commerce. I live at 127 Hilltop Road. And our Board of Directors has asked me to, on occasion, to make a report to the board of what the chamber activities are and what we're involved in, some of our goals. And the Black Mountain Swannanoa Chamber of Commerce currently has 350 members in the Swannanoa Valley. We have a new mission statement, which is the chamber provides, promotes, and prospers locally. We represent your town on many levels. On the Certified Entrepreneurial Committee, we're involved, and this coming Wednesday, Advantage West will be in Black Mountain to film 3 entrepreneurs film our city for the Advantage West website, which Black Mountain will be highlighted on. We're involved with the the Buncombe County Tourism Authority. We receive funds from major ads, including North Carolina Visitor Guide, Blue Ridge Mountain Host Visitor Guide. This March, April, we'll have ads in Our State Magazine, Charlotte Magazine, as well as Email Blast and Trail.com and AAA Go. This spring campaign will focus on outdoor activities in the valley, and along with that, our chamber is producing a hiking trail and greenway guide, which we'll distribute at the chamber. Doug Bowman of the Red Rocker Inn is our new board representative on the TDA board, and we're proud to have Doug on service on that board. We're represented at the Land of the Sky Regional Council meetings, Western North Carolina Chamber Executives Association, and we will be hosting that group in Black Mountain in September. We also go monthly and represent Black Mountain on the Passenger Rail Corridor Committee. We're still pushing for a rail station in Black Mountain, and we'll continue to do that until there's just not a penny left in the budget. But this rail division is still working towards Black Mountain being a stop and developing those sites along the corridor from Salisbury to Asheville. I serve on the Owen High School Advisory Board. We have 48 volunteers at the Visitor Center. Last year we welcomed 22,500 visitors, answered 6,757 phone calls, and fulfilled 1,584 requests, mailed visitor guides, and other information at each request. We have a public relation person, Gretchen Howard, who is contracted on a monthly basis, and she develops our weekly community calendar, press releases, and social networking. We assisted and consulted many new business prospects to open businesses in the Valley and use resources and resource guides that was developed by the Certified Entrepreneur Committee to help us with that. We do ribbon cuttings and open houses for new businesses. Of course, we have events. This will be our 35th annual Sourwood Festival coming up in August. Taste of Black Mountain will be May 17th. The Black Mountain Marathon and Challenge will be February 25th. It's coming up very soon. This year we have a full field, 350 runners. We'll ascend Mount Mitchell as they have for the past 15 years. And they come from all over the United States, and we have some from other countries that participate in the race. We have a new marketing council with the Chamber that's developing educational programs for businesses. They're taking reservations now for Google workshops. And we're holding executive roundtables and developing a strategic plan for next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Trish Russell.
Trish Russell, 108 North Blue Ridge Road. I'm not up here to tell stories like I usually do when I've got a speaker in front of me. But anyway, what I wanted to do was ask a question tonight and a comment about something entirely different. I'm going to let you guys rest a little bit, okay? What I wanted to know is I was concerned about our speed limit posted on each end of town that says 20 miles per hour. It's not very, it doesn't make a statement. It's not bold enough. And I don't know if county, if the town, or if the state, but could we possibly have at the end of each of town that 20 miles per hour be in a flashing mode so that people would notice it, especially the 18-wheelers that come through quite frequently. So I would like for that to be something we consider, find out who would be responsible or to do that. And even if we did it, it probably wouldn't cost that much, but something that would flash so that it would get people's attention. I notice most people are going 35 and 45 miles an hour in the 20. I don't. I go 20 to 25, and I'm being honest with you. So, but I just want y'all to think about it. See, I told you I was going to be easy tonight.
Chief Paget, do you have her license number? That covers that. Okay. On the consent agenda, we first is A, the adoption of minutes for January 5th, January 9th, January 9th closed session, January 18th, and January 27th. Any additions or corrections? If not, we'll move on. The resolution for Police Chief James Kevin Presley commending his service and his retirement. The proposal to adopt budget amendment as submitted, transferring $115,000 of budget expenses from the street department to the power bill division, which is also utilized in street. Purchase of a side-by-side utility vehicle to approve and authorize staff to purchase this for the Black Mountain Fire Department. These monies were brought in by the gracious giving of Montreat. Proposal to adopt budget amendment estimated increase in fire revenues and expenses by $12,000. Once again, this was the money that was brought in for that from the town of Montreat, or I believe that was Monterey College, wasn't it? It was the town of Monterey? Town of Monterey?
Yep.
A conference.
Conference.
Okay, that's right. Authorization of contract with Pyro Shows for the 4th of July. Call for a public hearing regarding the grant application to the North Carolina Department of Commerce for funding under the Community Development Block Grant CDBG. To be held on February 27th. Authorization to implement the Wellhead Protection Act, and I think Al's got some comments on that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have 2 or 3 comments on that, and I guess number one, the board remembers we had Deborah Maynor here from Rural Water at our agenda meeting. She couldn't come tonight, but she come to that one. This is something we started in 1994, and we were the pilot program for the state on this. It's something we're very, very proud of, and it's something that we need to update. So what you're voting on tonight, board, is to authorize us to move forward with that. And one thing that I didn't know at agenda meeting time, we will have a new map for you to adopt by resolution at the next meeting. I don't have that tonight, but that'll be an add just for next month's agenda. But I would like for you to go ahead and adopt what we have on consent tonight, and I'll be bringing that back next month. Okay?
Is there a motion to approve these consent items as presented?
Yeah, I just want to speak to one of those items, and this was something that Steve Jones had been working on with the town, with the Montreat Association. Basically, what they're doing is that they're charging $1 extra to the people that stay at Montreat at the inn. This will generate for the town. This will generate about $3,000 a quarter, of which they are going to go ahead and give to the town of Black Mountain. In return, we're going to go ahead and purchase, we meaning the fire department will go ahead and the town will purchase what they call a side-by-side unit. This is an emergency vehicle that goes, I think, on an ATV that then can be used to get back into the woods if the people that are staying there and the hikers get lost or get injured. We can assist them in getting them out. I mention that because I think that's a very good step on for the safety not only of their residents but other people that go hiking and are in the woods up there. But it also gets into another issue, and that is here is a nonprofit organization that has taken the bold step to put a fee on their room rent, and all I can ask is I would certainly hope that Blue Ridge and Ridgecrest would be thinking about the same way, because we provide them with fire protection, police protection, and also emergency protection. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes.
Mike, this is something, I don't think you were involved at the time, but Al and Gary Bartlett, Bruce Goforth, I think the mayor was involved. Several years ago, they went around and talked to all the conference centers and asked about exactly what's come about now. So that's a seed that's been working for a long time, and I'm glad to see it come through. It's really going to be helpful. And Mike, I think you quoted, if I'm wrong, correct me, I think you said 3,000. It's 12,000, isn't it?
Per quarter.
Well, 3,000
Per quarter.
A quarter, yeah. For 12 a year, correct.
Mr. Mayor, I would ask that we read the resolution honoring Chief Presley. I'm sure these folks out here haven't seen the resolution, but I think it would be good if you were to read the resolution.
I don't have a copy of it.
Yes, ma'am.
Whereas James Kevin Presley has served the town of Black Mountain in a conscientious, dedicated, and exemplary manner as Chief of Police for the past 5 years. Whereas Kevin established formalized community policing principles and methods in the police department by enacting guiding principles of honor, integrity, and professionalism, while also developing a departmental mission statement so police officers of today and the future maintain a commitment to the community while serving the town of Black Mountain. And whereas Kevin, through his leadership and commitment to excellence, helped drive the police department into the 21st century with state-of-the-art technology, training, and service within the community. Whereas Kevin, being a law enforcement instructor, has taught and continues to teach graduates of basic law enforcement training at Asheville Buncombe Technical Community College and police officers throughout western North Carolina, guiding them to become highly effective, ethical, and honorable law enforcement officers. Whereas Kevin also served the citizens of Buncombe County for over 20 years while employed at the Buncombe County Sheriff's Department, holding many roles, but most notably as a watch commander and patrol division commander, bringing the same commitment to excellence to the county of Buncombe as he did the town of Black Mountain. And whereas Kevin served not only his community but his country as well, enlisted in the armed services as a United States Marine. And whereas Kevin Presley should be recognized for his tireless commitment to his country, community, we recognize his 31 years of service and say thank you for a job well done. Now therefore, be it resolved that on behalf of all the town's elected officials, employees, and citizens, we hereby express our sincere appreciation to James Kevin Presley for his outstanding work and many contributions to the town of Black Mountain, county of Buncombe, and the United States of America. And we encourage him to enjoy his well-deserved retirement and new adventures. So we have I'd like to make a comment on a couple of things there regarding this. One is the grant. As we look at our economics here in the valley, you look back, the jobs that we have lost, Beacon Manufacturing, over 1,000 jobs. Northrop, Carolina, over 500 jobs. Busman, over 400 jobs. Drexel, over 350 jobs. Clevenger Knitted, 50-plus jobs. American Power Board, over 200 jobs. Anvil, over 200 jobs. Construction, we've lost hundreds of jobs in construction. This has really bothered me over the past 4 years, and I've focused on economic development. We want to be known as a business-friendly area. At the same time, we want to keep our values of the beauty of our area and the environment. But today, in this economic environment we find ourselves, there are more children on free lunches than any time in the past. The unemployment in this area is higher than it's ever been. The demands on our agencies that assist those in need are at an all-time high. They continually go asking for more and more. Every year we have graduates from high school and college that want to come back and join our workforce here in the Swannanoa Valley. We just don't have those jobs here that we would like to have. I feel it's a government responsibility to assist in economic development. Over the years, we have aggressively pursued government jobs here, and we've been successful in that. If you look at our board here, we have 3 members on the board that worked and some continue to work with the government. We have 2 entrepreneurs and 1 that come from corporate America. So with the jobs we've had here in government, we have the Black Mountain Center, ADAC, the Women's Prison, the Vets' new assisted living quarters, and also several regional offices, along with the Veteran Cemetery. But we've about maxed out on the number of government jobs we're going to be able to get here. I'd say 2 years that the Women's Prison will probably be maxed out with the number of jobs they have. We must turn more to corporate America and small business and entrepreneurship. And we've got the problem here of Ingalls building the largest corporate project in North Carolina this year. Their request from us on the building permit, I believe, was $80 million. I don't think there's another corporation in North Carolina building a building of $80 million. Over this past 4 years, I've probably called on somewhere between 35 and 45 businesses throughout North Carolina, 2 in South Carolina, and a couple in East Tennessee. I've made various promises to them on how I would support them if they would move to Black Mountain, from helping them to get streets closed, to water lines, to power, 3-phase power, various things to help our community with jobs. I think this is a real responsibility of our government, and I think we must continue to do that. The things that we can do to help a company like Ingalls may be very small. There's a lot of objection to it, but I think it's something we can do to show our appreciation to those folks for being here. Our community needs it. This time we'll have an annual report from the Black Mountain Library Board. Ron Sneed. Oh, I got to vote on that motion. I'm sorry. Call for a vote on approving the,
I'll make the motion that to approve the consent agenda.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, I would object to one item on the consent agenda. Otherwise, I'd vote in response aye to all of them. To H, I am opposed to the public hearing on the CDBG grant.
So a motion carries 4-1. Annual report from Black Mountain Library Board.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Doesn't seem like a year since the last time I reported, so if I repeat something from last year, it's because our board actually, fortunately, has very little to do. The Black Mountain Library Board is a maintenance committee, slightly glorified, with some responsibilities for the building. Our principal purpose is to utilize the money that the town provides to keep the building standing in good operating order. As most of you know, it was renovated a few years ago using mostly county money, some of the town's money, and some of the money that the library board had laid back. That's cut our costs in maintenance for a while, so we're able to bank a little. However, most of our expenditures are nursing along the heating and cooling systems that are scattered through the building. One thing we do control is the education room, and you folks who have used the meeting room at the library know that for years it was free, and we made it free at the request of the Buncombe County system that they were providing the meeting rooms and other libraries for free, so we should too. So we went to free. And then we had a recession, and so the county started charging for the use of the rest of the meeting rooms, since they own all those buildings. They came to us and asked that we also charge. We approached it a little different. The town owns this building. So the fee schedule they've got in place for the use of the room is, first off, you can't use it for commercial purposes. You can't use that room to sell, to charge admission, any of that. It's free. Whatever it is has to be a free offering to the public. However, any citizen of the town of Black Mountain who fits that category, wants to do something, needs to use the room, needs it for immediate, be it a homeowners association, be it just anything you want to offer, it's free, still free. We're not going to charge the town of Black Mountain citizens because those citizens are already paying in the form of the money the town puts toward its care. If you're from outside of the town, there is a fee. A group of 10 or less, they charge a whole $20 for use of the room. More than 10, they charge $35. It's part of we've found historically that the room, people will come from Raleigh and look to use our room because it's free. And there's no point in that if you're excluding a citizen. So we've made it, they'll pay a nominal fee, citizens will be free. That's all I've got to report from our board's end, but there's some things about the library that may be of interest to the people here. One is the county and the library system has managed not to lose staff or cut hours so far in this recession, where we hear in other communities they're shutting down their libraries. And we're just about every building, including PAC, last year has been renovated. Ed Sherry, the director of the system, was named Library Director of the Year for 2011 by the North Carolina Public Libraries Directors Association. A good part of that being because of the management of the renovation of the buildings in the system. One other little piece, circulation, just our library alone, about 12,000 pieces a month circulate through there. And for those of you who prefer your books in electronic form, PAC now has electronic books. You can go to their website. If you got a library card, you can download a book, and they've got this Mission Impossible bug in it. You've only got 2 weeks to read it because it self-destructs on your nook. But they do have electronic books. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Still not going to allow any food or drinks in
No food or drinks in the education.
Okay. Unfinished business. I want to draw 50,000 funds for operation of Black Mountain Golf Course. Need a motion on that to approve this $50,000 for Billy Casper Golf Man Association for slow time of year.
I make a motion that we approve it. Was it not already included in the contract or in what we have already approved?
We already gave them one.
Yeah, they've already had one, but this has to do, the answer is yes, it's there, has to do with the slow time of the year. The golf course, we're in our very slowest time of the year, although it's been a little bit better weather. than it did last year and the year before. It was last year and the year before, but as we move in, the memberships are due May 1. Revenue starts to flow. The good weather starts coming. June is traditionally the best month for a golf course, but this is just it's a seasonal type thing that they more than likely will be coming every year at this time asking for money.
Will this be one time? This time of the year, you're saying this
Well,
50?
I don't know.
Because we gave them 50 starting out.
Exactly.
Because I pulled the contract and
We're
saw that was.
hoping that this will do it within this budget year. I've got no guarantee of that, but we're hoping that it will, because as we move forward, as I said, we get to May 1, then they got membership money coming. And so then the best time of the year, revenue-wise for the golf course, we're into that. They will not be doing the very, very cheap memberships, as I understand it, that we've had in the past. They'll be over April the 30th. Those were the $198, I believe, for 5-day membership, and $348 for a 7-day membership. As I understand it, those are going to go away.
For 2 years.
For 2 years, I'm sorry, for 2 years, right.
Well, we've paid them $31,500 for absentee management so far this year. That would be funds that we would have, that would be already in their cash flow had this contract not been in place. Any other discussion?
I think in the spirit of the speech that you just gave, Mr. Mayor, about businesses and wanting to bring more improvements to the valley as far as our economic condition goes, I think it would only be fitting for us to approve the $50,000 to help continue these folks in the venture that they're trying to do.
Okay. Any other comments? All in favor?
I've got a question about, they can come back to us and ask for additional monies this year, can't they?
If funds get running low, they will. They can and will, and that's pretty much the way it's set up. If the funds get depleted, then yes, they'll be coming back. My hope is that they won't.
There's no performance measures in this contract. No accountability for any type of performance in the contract at all. Just they're there, they're drawing $6,500 a month.
As a matter of fact, they don't even have to open the golf course.
That's right.
And we have to pay them $6,000 a month.
Plus 500 expense managers.
So this very well, if we can't find some way to get out of this contract in the next 5 years, we will end up probably pretty close to this group, and the amount of money that they will have caused us to have spent, it'll be approaching $500,000 that we will have given them. So that's, and also now we've got to be thinking about the amount for the seed and fertilizer that they're going to probably have to come back and get money for.
Al, what's the result if we don't give them 50,000?
They can close the golf course.
Close it down.
See, their contract says to manage it.
If they got no funds to operate, then my assumption would be they'll shut it down.
Very foolish contract. Okay, anyone else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Proposal to adopt budget amendment as submitted, decreasing solid waste collection fee by $150,000. You want to comment on that? You want to
I'll start on it first, and then Dean. I think Dean's going to speak to that.
Yeah, Dean will be prepared. I'm looking for my budget amendment that I've got here somewhere, but that's the one that we've had discussion about, we talked about last month, and that I told you that Dean and I would be getting together and be bringing you a budget amendment to cover the 150. We were very confident that we had the money, and that's coming from 3 different sources. That's coming from we've done better on sales tax money than we anticipated, number one. Number two, we had a contract to put in multiple single unit charge stations, the one like we've got at the police department. Most of you folks probably have seen it there. We had a contract to do multiple units. It was a matching grant. We opted to just do one, so it's a dual versus a single, but I think that's certainly going to be adequate for us now. So we had some money left over of the matching funds that were budgeted for that. We're using that money. And then the other piece of the puzzle is the money in the budget for the planner. We have taken out 3 months of that. I still have money in the budget for a planner for the final 3 months of this budget year. We haven't started to advertise yet. We'll be talking more about that at a later date. But that's the 3 areas that we're taking the 150 forward. Dean and I both feel very confident that we're fine to do that. So that's kind of where we stand.
And one of the things too, in the future, this is all because of the fact that we voted to do away with the garbage tax, so we had to make up that money. So we're making it up here, and of course, and in the years to come, fortunately, we will be getting extra money in from the Ingalls warehouse, and that money will start. They will probably be occupying that warehouse this spring, which means then that they will be billed this fall, and then this coming year we will be getting that money. So that right there is just another good reason why Ingalls is a good partner to have.
Any other comments? The motion to approve budget amendment BFY 2012-08 is submitted.
I'll make that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Under C, it's one that we moved. This is to approve to declare the 752 automated meter readers as surplus and authorize staff to dispose of them through sale. Alderman Collins requested this be moved over, and he'd like some comments on it.
I'd like for Mark White to come to the podium if you could, please. Most of you guys know Mark. He's our water control specialist and here in the town, been with the town a long time. There's a little history that I wanted to bring forth on the selling of these meter reading devices that he has. And I'd like for him to show you each of the two, what they are. And then I've got some questions I'd like to ask him of those.
When we purchased these back in 2008, 2009, there were 2 different styles. The clip-on retrofitted our type of meter, which this was the easiest, quickest installation, and it was supposed to read about 98 to 99% accurate. The other one was a glue-on, stick-on adhesive, supposed to read 98 to 99, and in reality, they read about 38%, both brands. So,
Mark, it's my understanding that when this first came about, that there was a lot of discussion between the Public Works Director, yourself, and the folks here in Town Hall concerning the caution that we ought to have about going to these. And it's my understanding that y'all had conversations with other cities that were using those, and what were those comments?
we talked to 8 or 10 different cities, even Chattanooga. They said that they were having not real good. They were getting 50, 60%, and they were in the process of pulling them out. We went to Asheville, and we spent a day, and they were running into the same problem in Asheville. Probably 6 months after we purchased ours, they pulled the plug also on theirs.
Was there any counter suggestions or solutions that y'all came up with as far as starting out smaller, was sample lots?
We wanted to go with a different brand that had the water meter and this all built in one, and they said, you know, they'll last 20 years. So we wanted to phase 600-800 out at a time, but what we first wanted was to purchase like 200 of these, try them in the trailer parks and see what we got. But it was finance's decision, not Public Works, to purchase these.
So basically, the guys here in Town Hall made the decision and did not listen to the guys that had boots on the ground, who were trying to give them some words of caution. And is Dean here, or do you know what the total was spent on those?
It was about $255,000.
$255,000. So that's the story. And now we're selling what we've got left, still brand new in the boxes because we can't use them.
That's correct. And how much is still owed on that, Dean?
About $100,000.
So we're still paying on that.
Mark, was it stated somewhere that there is another city or somewhere that is using those that we could probably sell them to?
There are several cities that are using them, but they're having the same trouble. But they offer, same company offers a different brand, and they'll give you so much trade-in. But the new brand that they've got, they're getting 98% accuracy, but they won't work with our water meters. So it kind of defeats the purpose, and that's why I've been out trying to find someone to purchase these. So.
Was any attempt ever made to try to get the manufacturer to take those back or to credit us for them?
Many attempts. Keith Belt, our meter reader, they just kept giving him the runaround. He'd be on the phone 2 hours, you know, with our tech department. Oh, y'all have done this wrong. You've done, you know, installation. There was 4 of us. They come in and worked 5 days certifying us to install these. So.
This thing kind of strange that if they were not performing up to standards as they were supposedly made to be, why was our legal department never contacted? Or, and I'm thinking back to the tennis court situation, why wasn't there never an attempt to try to talk to these folks and say, you know, your product is not living up to its claims. Either you give us our money back or we do something, or, you know, hold them accountable for what they did. Ron, any idea on that?
Mr. Showers, I didn't even know that things were defective until the last meeting. I'm sorry.
But Bo Ferguson, that was finance, he also made numerous calls. Then in the meantime, Bo went to Hendersonville, so there was a time lapse, which made things worse. But.
So no legal avenue was ever approached as far as trying to get compensation back from these folks for selling us some bogus equipment?
Not that I'm aware.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
The motion to approve to declare the 750 automated meter readers surplus and authorize staff to dispose of them through sale.
I'll make that motion.
Any more discussion? Ron, I think we'd like for you to maybe draft a letter to that company that, see if I'd do any good.
We could take a look at the contract, see how far out we are, see if we've got a leg to stand on.
If you would. I think we should. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
So, Mr. Mayor, just a question, if I may. We'll hold up on doing anything until the town attorney sends that letter?
Sure.
We'll get a reply? Okay.
Tom Gill.
I'm ready. Mayor and Board, I'm really excited to be here tonight. We've got some pictures to show you, pictures that we've been waiting for a long time. Sometimes I have felt like many folks in town that this is a never-ending story, but here we are. As you're aware, the Town Square Steering Committee was formed in early 2010 and given direction by the Board to encourage, receive, and respond to public input regarding the Town Square property, specifically in the areas of the purpose and use of the space, the concept design and amenities, and fundraising for property development. Past reports have kept you up to date on various aspects of the original charge given to the committee, including the results of a public survey done in the fall of 2010 that helped the committee prioritize the suggested uses of the property as follows. 1, open area for use as green space and/or park. Number 2 is parking, and number 3 is commercial. These views were echoed during other public input sessions in the summer of 2011 while consultants were on site to make recommendations about the intersection at Montreat Road and State Street. The committee learned early in the process that the issues surrounding Montreat Road and State Street intersection had to be addressed before any development could occur on the property. Both fire and police departments had pointed out serious concerns about traffic blocking emergency access to Montreat Road at certain times of the day. After a traffic study, public input sessions on the Town Square property and at Lake Tomahawk, the consultants presented a design concept for the intersection that met with your approval. The committee reviewed public input in the site study done by the consultants and then contracted with a landscape design architect to help draw the concept plan presented here this evening. Through this process, we have worked doubly hard to ensure that the directives given by this board were fulfilled, as well as the priorities gleaned from public input. To that end, the concept plan includes the following, and you'll see on the screens, and also I believe you have a copy of this in front of you. The first priority was open space in a park setting where people could gather to enjoy the heart of Black Mountain. This space uses the spectacular mountain views to the north and the south as focal points. Parking to help alleviate congested parking in the downtown area. Included in the parking area are handicapped spaces and proposed electric vehicle charging station for public use. The open lot will contain approximately 20 spaces. Additional parking along the north side of State Street will provide another 11 spaces, with 20 more available in the Marketplace building when available. The Marketplace building is in the center of the property. It's a large, open, multi-purpose building that will be used, that is accessible from the parking area on the east end and includes 20 parking spaces inside when available. Directly north of the Marketplace is a public restroom, and that's this building. Whoop, I guess my pointer doesn't point up there. It's just north of the Marketplace building is a public restroom area. We have another design as well that will give you a little different view. This is if you were standing on the top of Town Hardware and all the poles were out of the way and the street signals, you could see this in that view. The committee envisions the Town Square Marketplace building to be available for small businesses such as a farmer's market, crafters, mobile food vendors, and more. We also envision this building to help serve aspiring entrepreneurs in congruence with our certification as an entrepreneurial community. The building could also be used for public events, festivals, shows, and more. We suggest that revenue collected from permits and/or rentals be returned directly to the general fund as income from the property. The entire site will be developed in an eco-friendly manner using native stone and vegetation. Low-growing trees like dogwoods, etc. will preserve the view shed of the mountains looking north from Broadway and State Street. And you can see that rendered there as the Seven Sisters, just as big as life before us. Other native shrubs will provide natural barriers to shield people from traffic on State Street and Montreat Road, as well as set a boundary to keep people off the fire department tarmac. That was very important to Chief Jones. Boulders native to the region will provide accents throughout the site, as well as serve to block vehicular access where necessary. Native stone walls will provide accents throughout, as will stone pavers. Rain gardens will collect runoff so it can be returned to the water table. This concept plan includes closure of Honeycutt Street to through traffic, with the west end available to emergency vehicles only. Visitors to the police and fire departments can gain access by entering Honeycutt from the east off West Street. Parking is available for both fire and police on the north side of the town square property and is marked as facility parking. We encourage the board to approve this motion to accept this concept plan and direct the committee to continue fundraising efforts and grant applications. One trust valued at $240,000 is already in place from an anonymous donor, and others are waiting to see what their contributions will be used for. I'd like to take a moment to just share the heart of the committee in this. We have really tried hard to stay true to the task that this board has given us. We have listened to people, and we continue to listen to people, because this is a concept plan, and we're hoping that it will fulfill what it is that you dream for this town, as well as what the residents dream for this town. And so Alderman Collins has been such a welcome addition to our team. I don't know, Don, if you have anything you'd like to say, but we really appreciate this opportunity to present this concept design to you. Are there any questions?
I personally like the concept. I think it's good. But we got to remember also, that we have about a $2 million indebtedness on this piece of property that we also need to address the payment of that in some manner. And I think isn't there a group with a wing of you guys also addressing some of that, the fundraising or
the fundraising has been for the development of the property, Mayor.
Strictly
Yes.
for development.
Yes, and the reason, that was what we were charged with initially. The committee has discussed this because Alderman Collins has brought it up to us, as has Al. We are very sensitive to the need to pay down that debt as well. We feel that it would probably serve the board better and the town better if a committee ancillary to the Town Square Committee were formed that could help with that process. We discussed at length how people would respond if we asked them to contribute funds for the development of the property and it was not used for that, but was instead used for debt payment, and we didn't feel that would serve the best purpose as far as our integrity going forward with that.
Do you have I know it's strictly a projection though, cost of what this development would be?
Based on that design, which again is a concept, we have a very rough estimate that it would cost right around $900,000 to do that. And so far we have $240,000 committed. We believe, and Alderman Sobel has brought up a good point. Mike, I don't know if you were going to talk about this at all, but with the Norfolk Southern Railroad, and you know more about it than I do, things that you had talked about in the past, and maybe you could answer some of that as well, because that would come in for development on the property too.
Yeah, they would. They have a trust fund set aside so that they can go ahead and promote the historical aspects of Norfolk Southern, wherever it is where their lines run. And many of you know this, but the 7 tunnels that are on from Old Fort to Black Mountain was built back right after the Civil War, and one of the most phenomenal engineering feats at that time. Today, it's not that big a deal. They're drilling tunnels 5, 10 miles long, starting at one end and starting at both ends, and then they meet, and they can be within 1/8 of an inch. Not in the 1800s, or not 1900s. So it was about 1860, 1865, somewhere in there that they started. Norfolk Southern as well it would consider the idea of helping with this park. If in fact we can move forward with getting the park actually built, and it doesn't have to be completely built before they would come in, but they are certainly expressing interest that once it is a done deal, that they very well would be interested in contributing something, provided that it gives recognition to that phenomenal engineering feat. And I've spoken to Don before about this, that if you're facing that property right behind where Squeaky's was, there's a bank that starts off very low and then ascends as it goes up the hill towards the fire and police department. What a great thing that if you had on that wall, you could put it in there in tiles, you could have the 7 tunnels, you could have it, the graph of showing where it is, and even at the far end, you may even have, since there's a spring there, you could even have a small geyser to represent the geyser that is down on, in between the 4th and 5th tunnel. So, I mean, this is another way of looking of us trying to go ahead and secure money to help pay for the development of the park. Because they won't pay for the park itself, but they would help for the development part of it.
And if I may make one other comment, the committee is looking for not only enough money to develop it, but also to have a trust fund set aside or an endowment set aside so that we can ensure that it is maintained without, again, draining town coffers.
That's okay.
Tom, you've heard a lot of discussion about Ingalls Markets and how important a part they play in this valley too. Pretty much like the U.S. Cellular Center in Asheville now, the Civic Center. Why don't we approach them and have the Ingalls Marketplace right in the smack in the middle of the town square property?
We're not opposed to that. If anyone comes to us with $1 million, we'll name it what they want to name. You know, we're happy campers if that happens. It is my understanding, I have not spoken to Ingalls directly, but it is my understanding that there are some folks that have already entered into discussion with them. I met with the business today and just offhand was talking about Town Square, and they are interested in now talking to their higher-ups in a large corporation to see if they can begin to donate. People see this as the heart of Black Mountain, and it's a very important place in town. And it can really become a place that defines the heart of our town, and people want to be a part of it. And you know, the residents not only want to be a part of it, but also corporate America as well.
Tom, I think it's important to note, to make sure everybody understands, is this, all you're looking for is approval of the conceptual plan. You're not asking for money.
No, sir.
You're not coming to the town for money in the future. This is just preliminary work that y'all are going to be proceeding with.
Yes.
And as far as the taxpayers of Black Mountain, it's not, you're not looking for another dime.
That's absolutely correct. In fact, the fellow that drew this up for us is working with the town of Weaverville in putting a town square there. One of the things that we talked about were comments that folks had made to us in the very beginning that, hey, I've got a backhoe, can I come up and help? Or I know how to do dry stack wall, can I come up and help? What we would like to do is find a way to turn this into a community project so that those folks that have resources to do that can actually come up and lend a hand and build it. And that's the way the town of Weaverville is doing it. So I believe that we have that possibility as well so that it truly becomes a Black Mountain project. It's not just some ethereal dream that's out there. It actually becomes a reality because people have gotten out there and gotten their hands dirty to make it happen.
I think in our last meeting we voted to approve them to go ahead and start doing some work up there. Have they started yet?
No,
sir.
We're not going to do that right now because the grass is not going to grow. We're going to do it when we know we've got warm enough weather for the grass to grow.
I think our target on that, if I'm not mistaken, is right around the middle of March.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
How big of an area are you talking about?
Well, if you see where the green is, right up through there on the picture, you know, the wall is right in that area. If you can imagine it now, and then, you know, there's some asphalt up above that. We would be taking out pretty much the way that it looks right there, although not all the way up to where the upper green is, simply because that parking that is there now is necessary for the fire department. But what we would actually do is pull the grade down, remove the wall that is up there at this point, and probably go to the east about halfway through the parking lot that's on the upper end of the center of the property, and pull that out in there. What we would like to do is make a place so that people can begin to see that work is actually happening, It's something that the town can do with existing help and existing machinery that we already have. It's really not going to cost hardly anything. But what it'll do is show the people that something is actually beginning to happen on the property.
I went to speak with Dean this week and hopefully begin to look at a way, as the mayor says, about us paying down the property. One of the ways is to not incur as much interest on it, is to try to possibly, we may look at refinancing.
Yes.
And getting that at a much lower interest rate, or
Yes.
a lower interest, can't say much lower, but at a lower interest rate, so.
Yes, that
So
is
that's one of the
definitely a
things that,
possibility.
that we're doing to try to look at bringing this down quicker, this debt.
That's a great idea.
I'd like to comment. I think it's a great concept. The only issue I've got here is the fact that if we go ahead and approve this, then we're saying right there that these taxpayers are committed to that $2 million. There's no chance at that point, if you guys go ahead and go forward, to sell any part of it. We really need to be thinking about the taxpayers' money here. That's a big debt on the back of the people.
Other questions, comments? Good report, Tom.
Thank you, sir.
Is there a motion to adopt the conceptual drawings as submitted to allow Town Square Steering Committee to proceed with fundraising and grant solicitation?
I make that motion.
There's a motion. Is there any discussion? There being no discussion, call for a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carries 4-1. Next is a recommendation for implementing a plan to update the town's comprehensive plan. Ames, I believe that's you. Are you going to do anything on that?
Just mention a couple things. When I gave my annual report, we mentioned the fact that the planning board has been discussing the issue of possibility of updating a comprehensive plan that was developed for this community in 2004. I see people in this room who were probably part of that process. It was a process that was fairly lengthy and involved a lot of citizen input and was conducted or run or developed by a consulting organization. I don't know what the fee was for that, but I imagine it was fairly substantial. The planning board at the last meeting discussed the possibility of reviewing this at the request of the Board of Aldermen, and we're open to that. As you know, your planning board are hardworking people that put together the land use code, which was a big effort, and they certainly have the energy and the interest. Just a couple things I would mention in this context, and one is I feel personally as the chairman of the committee that of the board that we should have, before we proceed to doing anything at the planning board level, that the Board of Aldermen and the planning board should get together and develop a strategy for addressing this issue before we even proceed. The second thing of concern to us, of course, is going to be the staffing of any work that we do. We don't have a planning director, and the planning director was our technical expertise. We do have a very intelligent and capable board, but this process of developing and updating a comprehensive plan will require considerable staff support. So we're anxious to learn about the hiring of a planning director. It plays a major role in ours. However, we are willing to do whatever is necessary to advance this project, because the comprehensive plans are very useful. I don't know how many people have ever read the comprehensive plan for the town. I know even on the planning board, we have a couple of members that probably haven't read it. And it was a nice effort, and it's certainly some parts of it are applicable today, and other parts are just out of date, because since 2004, many things have happened to our economy and to our community. So we're willing to be part of this process and carry forth whatever direction we get from you.
Then what you're suggesting is maybe you get with Darlene and set up a let her contact the board for a joint meeting
meeting.
with you guys to,
Right.
before we
To
enter into
provide
this.
guidance and direction
Okay.
from your viewpoint.
Okay, that'd be good.
Any other questions?
Thank you. I know there's a lot of work.
Well, there are, the members of the board are always, we're looking for projects. We don't have as many developments coming in for review, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll call it 5-minute recess. Call the meeting back to order. The next item on the agenda is a request, removal of ABC board member. I'd like to read this. Town manager, mayor, and board of aldermen, I believe at the present time it would be in the best interest of town that I step down as chairperson of the ABC store, but continue to sit on the board. This is signed Mary Sneed. At this time, I'll ask for a motion to accept her stepping down.
I'll make a motion for her to step down and then nominate.
Have a seat on the board.
And still have a seat on the board, and then nominate Rick Spalding to finish out the term as chairman.
Okay, let's do that in 2 motions.
Okay, all right, I'll do the first motion.
Okay. Any discussion on this? If not, all in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, now.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion for Rick Spalding to end up being the chair till, which would be to finish out her term, which would be through the end of June of this year.
Okay. Any other nominations? Being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Votes 4-1. Okay, town attorney.
I have nothing further.
Al Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I got 2 or 3 things I need to talk about. Number one, I've had, this is not complaints, I wouldn't categorize it as complaints, but about the sound, and we were working on that for the sound to get a little better. I was told at the break that I didn't do a very good job when I was speaking a while ago, that I need to move up to the mic better, and I will try my best to do that. But Darlene and Gary worked on that before the meeting today, and I guess the comments were more in the outbuildings, the outside buildings out of the main board meeting room versus in here. But we're working on the whole sound system to make it better. So let me know, if you will. I say this to everyone, if we're getting where we need to be. If we're not, we'll continue to work on it. But and I'll try to do a better job myself, a better job of getting up to the mic. The other thing that come to me is the improving means of communication with citizens of Black Mountain. A lot of things that are going on within the town that we're not getting the word out maybe as good as we should. So what we're doing, I asked Darlene if she'd get with the Black Mountain News, and they have worked out where we will have a little section. It's going to be 2 columns wide and a couple 3 inches tall each week in the Black Mountain News. It's going to be on page 2. It's going to be on page 2. So look for anything, any announcements there. That'll be every week. And so hopefully we've got that worked out to where we'll get the word out to everybody. So just wanted to report on those things.
Al, let me just mention, to follow up on that.
Yes, sir.
And to make sure that, because there's 3 ways that the citizens could go ahead and find out. They could go ahead and read it in the newspaper. They go ahead and go on the internet. And the last thing would be they can call City Hall.
Sure.
So make sure that the City Hall's phone number's on there, and that the internet, our internet address is on there.
Good
on
point.
there also.
Good point.
And also too, this will be in the same position.
It'll be the same place every
Same
week.
place. Once they find it, they can go there the
Page
next week
2.
or 6 weeks later.
Page 2, right,
Good.
Darlene?
Correct, that's what we're working on.
Okay.
Great.
So it'll be right there, available every week. The last thing that I have tonight
we've got our departmental quarterly reports coming up. And I just want to say a couple of things. I've been here almost 2 months now, and I have been so impressed with our leadership team, with our employees all the way through, but working, I guess, more closely with our department directors, leadership team. I've been so proud of what they're doing, and it's just been a real pleasure for me to work with them. But we're bringing forth tonight, they are bringing forth tonight their second quarter reports, second quarter being quarter ending December 31. I'm talking fiscal budget year, not calendar year, but ending December 31st. So with that, we're going to start out with the financial summaries, and that's going to be Dean, Janella, and Darlene is usually in the mix over here, but I've got her additional duties over here, kind of working the sound system and things, but she'll be a part of it from over here.
My name is Dean Luby. I'm the Finance Director. Mayor and Board, it's an honor to speak to you tonight. I'm just going to very briefly go through sort of a mid-year financial summary. We'll start on the revenue side of things. Our property and DMV taxes make up almost just under half of our general fund budget of $7 million. Each penny of property tax means about $94,000 to the town. Our collection rate in Black Mountain has been higher than the statewide and actually the Buncombe County average as well. We're close to 99% collection rate on property taxes. The bulk of our property taxes I have down there, 75%, I think it's closer to 80, come in these middle months, November, December, and January. So this is a good time of the year for me to report. We're very much on target for both our property and DMV taxes. And lastly, of the property tax you're paying, close to 60% of that goes to Buncombe County, and only 41% comes to Black Mountain. Our next highest revenue source is sales tax that we get from the state on a monthly basis. And you can see throughout the years, back in '07, we were at 1.118 million. You can see how the economy has affected that. Last year, we ended up a little bit, a little over $1 million, and this year, that 294 represents only 3 months of sales tax, so we're ahead of schedule at this point. That's why Al and I felt comfortable with the budget amendment that we spoke of earlier. So we're keeping an eye on sales tax, but we're optimistic on that at this point. Franchise utility taxes bring in about $550,000 a year. We're 3 months behind on those as well, but historically the first quarter payment is always a little bit less. In the second quarter, you get a higher amounts from the natural gas utility tax. So we're pretty much up to speed on that one too. It's looking like it's going to hit right where we thought it would. Our next one, let's see, on the expenditure side of life, in the general fund at least, the mayor and board actually has a small sheet that highlights the differences year to year. I don't have it included in this slideshow, but for the most part, we're on par for previous years. Let's see. Police appears to be, their expenditures appear to be quite a bit down this year, but that's basically because of a timing issue, and then they purchased some vehicles last year which inflated their expenses. The same is true for fire. I think they purchased 2 vehicles last year, which makes their expenditures appear higher. Let's see, planning is under budget because of some vehicles and because of the vacant positions. We haven't had a planning director for the first half of the year. Public services and recreation, there's been a little bit of reshuffling. We had some expenses last year that were in recreation that this year are in public services, but by and large, they're also in line. The expenditures, I think, are at 47% of budget in the general fund at mid-year, so we're happy with that as well. In our proprietary funds, the major golf and water revenues are on par with where they should be from previous years. Some water expenses appear to be higher. Well, they are higher because of the work that we did out on US 70, finishing up a water line project for $47,000, and then I made a slight accounting change. Instead of recognizing a large contribution from water to the general fund once a year in the fourth quarter, I've been doing it on a quarterly basis, so it doesn't have any effect at all. It's just that I'm trying to recognize it more as the year goes by. Golf expenses are slightly higher than last year because of a new lease that we have on some irrigation equipment and a roof repair at the new 19th hole. And lastly, we have completed 2 projects recently. The Avena McCoy Cove and Blue Ridge Sewer Line project was a $1.1 million project. The town will begin paying a $975,000 debt at 2.2%. It starts at about $65,000 a year and will slowly go down as the years go on. With the project on US 70 that we just recently completed on the last slide, that is going to finish a water line project that actually started many, many years ago. I still have $60,000 that I'm going to be receiving from the state on that, but when that gets over with, we'll have a $991,000 debt on the books at 4% or just over 4%. That was actually a $3 million project, and $2 million of that was grants, and that was back in '02 or so when that started, so that's been going on for some time. But all in all, that's our condition at midway through the fiscal year 12 here. Does anybody have any questions?
When's the last time we looked at our boundary lines on franchise taxes? Yeah, I don't recall when it was, and there's anything out there we're missing.
Well, we actually did just do a study on the electricity franchise tax. That probably finished up maybe 6 months ago, and that increased our revenues. They went backwards and picked up about $40,000, and they kind of told us that we think going forwards, you're going to increase. I think it was maybe $4,000 a quarter. Now, that was just for the electricity. To be honest, I don't know if we've done those studies. There's 4 different types of franchise tax. So we may want to look into pursuing those other 3 as well to pick up some extra revenue.
Will that same group be willing to come in and do that, or are they just strictly on the electric side?
They are doing the natural gas for us right now, but there's also, video programming, and what's the 4th one? But I bet you they would. They've kind of they called Marcy, and they've called me once or twice. So I can talk with them about that and see if we can pick up some extra revenue there.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
The other thing, there's movement underway in the legislature to do away with the privilege license, which won't impact us greatly, but it would have an impact. It looks like that could pass before our budget is finalized for this year.
Yeah, you mentioned that to me, and that would be about a $30,000.
Registering from something else.
Right.
Dean, on your sales taxes, those usually run about, what, 3 months in arrears?
Yeah, those are 3 months in arrears, so that, I think it was the second slide, we're averaging, we're quite a bit ahead of schedule right now at this stage of the game, and it took me a lot of research, but basically because of our property tax increase a couple years ago, Buncombe County distributes sales taxes on a tax levy basis, and our slice of the pie just got a little bit bigger for all of Buncombe County with that, and that is the reason for the increase, really.
So at the end of this fiscal year, we wouldn't recognize that fourth quarter payout until, what, September, somewhere in there?
Yeah, our last sales tax and franchise tax comes in September, although it's revenue recognized in fiscal year 12. Yeah.
There's some movement underway to try to change that also from ad valorem population.
That would have hurt us this year.
I oppose that one.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. I said that a little bit wrong in the beginning. Obviously, that's our financial report. Now we're moving on to administrative services with Janella, Darlene, and Dean.
Thank you, Mayor Board. I just want to go over with you a few of the things I've been doing in the HR department during this second quarter. Coordinated the annual flu shot clinic with Maxim Healthcare and our employees through Blue Cross Blue Shield. Annually, we offer this to all the employees, their dependents, and our retirees. We had 33 employees, dependents, and retirees take advantage of our on-site flu shot clinic this year. The shots were covered for our full-time employees by their health care premiums and the retirees. The dependents, of course, had to pay a copay at the clinic. I also scheduled and organized the annual United Way Rally for 2012 during the month of October. With the help of Renee Mastrangelo from the Recreation Department. We held 5 meetings with the employees and the United Way staff. We challenged the employees to a contest. The section with the highest participation won a pizza party, and the Administration Department won with 46% participation. The Administration Department consisted of Recreation Department, Planning Department, Customer Service, and the Administration Department. Also, the employees were challenged all to turn in their pledge sheets, and they were all put in a hat for, and whoever's name was drawn out of the hat won a paid day off, and that was Sergeant Dennis Bishop. I worked with AB Tech to organize our second class in our ongoing satellite classroom. Our satellite class this semester is public speaking. We have 7 town employees attending this public speaking class, working toward their degree. The instructor for this class this semester is Rusty Holmes. I compiled an annual salary and benefits statement for each full-time employee. This was my first time to do this and seemed to be a hit with all the employees. I think they enjoyed seeing the actual dollar amount that all their benefits. It was a presentation of the employees' compensation package, and that put an actual dollar amount on that for them. And I think that I'm going to continue to do that. I think I'll put that on as something I would do as my year-end procedures every year. I attended a webinar for eBenefits Now. The state health plan, as of March 1, is no longer accepting paper enrollments. So I'm going to have to do everything online from here on out. And so I've been taking these webinars to help train all the employees, because they're going to have the option to go in and do all their insurance things themselves online. So I've been taking this training to help train them. Done the calendar year-end procedures and payroll to get ready to do all the W-2 forms in January. And last but hardly least, we had a barbecue retirement party for Don Laws. Don gave the invocation. Don retired with 18 years of service, and here's some pictures of him and his grandchildren and his daughter at the retirement party. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm next.
You're next, that's what I thought. Thank you, Janella, and as Darlene said, don't forget me.
Going back into our October meeting, the Black Mountain Greenways Commission was presented the award from the Land of Sky Regional Council, Friends of the River Award, at our regular session on October 10th. 4 of us went to the School of Government Day Seminar. You'll see a picture in the next slide. Regarding open meetings and public records with our instructor from the School of Government, Freda Bluestein, at the Arboretum in Asheville on October 13th. Participated in the Lunch and Learn. The title of it was Avoiding the Holiday Spending Hangover. And we learned from Carolyn, our on-track financial person that came on November 16th. There were 10 of us employees that participated in that Lunch and Learn, and she taught us many handy tricks of how to cut up your credit cards and don't overspend, because then you'll have that hangover. Eat Smart, Move More, Maintain, Don't Gain Holiday Challenge was from November 1st to January 1st. There were 9 participants in that as well. And our Health Services Program Administrator, Carolyn Freiberger, also provided a brochure rack in the employee workout facility, a public safety building, brochure rack that was installed and stocks resources on healthy living. So we're trying to promote healthy living through our Lunch and Learns, as well as providing resource material. In December, the Town of Black Mountain Christmas Parade was held on December 3rd. And the picture that I'll show you, I think I'll go. Oh, we're backing up. Here's the Land of Sky Friends of River Award. The group that accepted the award that night: Jennifer Tipton, our interim zoning administrator, permit clerk, and she wears about 5 other hats. Carolyn Freiberger, Ann Lutz, Susan Ward, Jack Williams, Julie White, and I got to hold the frame. These are the 4 ladies that went to the School of Government open meetings and public records seminar. As you can see in the background of the picture of us, it was in the fall. It was a beautiful place to be at the Arboretum for the day, and we learned about all the new legislations regarding open meetings and public records. And this is the Lunch and Learn that I just spoke to you about, holiday spending and hangover, avoiding it. And then the last slide is of the Christmas parade. That's the fleet of golf carts that were decorated, and then individual pictures of our newly elected Alderman Maggie Tuttle and Don Collins. Michael Sobel was not available because he was at his daughter's graduation, I believe, in Charleston that day. A nursing degree, isn't that right?
Nurse anesthetist.
And that's my presentation. Next is Steve.
Thank you, Darlene.
Stephanie Jones' dad.
Yeah, everybody knows me. Mayor, Alderman, thank you. This last quarter, we had 281 calls in the city, 150 calls in the district. That always averages out 60-40, 65-35 difference. We were up 1 3/4% from last year. The average 33 times a month that we were on multiple calls, that keeps getting bigger and bigger, and that's why I keep saying I need more manpower, personnel. Just for an example, on the way over here, we had a chimney fire, or as some people say, chimney fire, and it wasn't there for just a few minutes, and then had a medical emergency, and it only left one person at the station that's on light duty, so all he can do is answer the radio and just thank goodness nobody else needed anything, or we had to call swarm on us. So that number keeps going up. We spent 13,548 hours on calls. We had 2 structure fires last quarter. One in the city, which was exposed $80,000 to fire with 0 loss. Another one in the district had $180,000 exposed with $900 lost, and that's well within the 10% that we set for ourselves for the year. We had 193 building inspections, 8 residential inspections. You can see Ingles Warehouse there is moving along. We got to tour the facility a couple of weeks ago. It's a very big facility, even inside. We got to see it when there was no racks put up, so it was one big open room. We could have played many football games and soccer games and softball games. It's just a big old area. They have started putting racks up, so they say it's starting to look more like a warehouse. We had 194 public education events in the last quarter. Of course, this is due to primarily to open house. It's on a weekly basis that we do have tours. As you see here, the children coming through the station, at least 2 or 3 a week. Always, they schedule them, and then sometimes people just show up and want to come in and tour, and we're always more than welcome to have them. We had 2,615 hours spent on training last quarter, with the training achievements in the last quarter being Sykes Reagan got his nationally registered paramedic. That he's a volunteer. He can go anywhere in the country and perform duties as a paramedic level because of the nationally registry. Chad Williams is a paid firefighter. He achieved his driver operator certification. Sue McMullen is a former paid employee, now volunteer. She came back to us, and she had lost her EMT basic certification and had to go back to training to regain that certification. And Brian Myers is another full-time firefighter. He achieved his EMT intermediate certification, and this allows us to have at least 2 EMT intermediates on every shift. So if somebody's off, we've always got an advanced EMT that can give a little more drugs and do a little more invasive procedures. It's hard to believe that it's been a little over a year since we've lost Charlie Arnett, and that's why I put his picture up there. When I talk about volunteer extra duty, he was the example of that and the definition of giving back to his community. We had 457 hours spent on volunteering at the station. That's not going on calls. That's just coming and helping do maintenance and cleaning around the station and that kind of work. So Charlie set the standard for that, and it's a very high standard for people to meet, and they're doing a real good job of it. We also was involved in the presidential motorcade that came through. We assisted other state agencies in blocking, as everybody knows, I-40. When the president's on I-40, there's no cars going whichever direction he's going. So we were tasked in both the city and the district to assist in that. All went well. He come through in a big motorhome at about 75 miles an hour, and he wasn't in the district very long, and then we all got to go back to being normal. So we was very appreciative that we had no incidences. I'm glad he didn't want to stop here and eat, because that threw a whole nother mix into McDowell County when he stopped. But if he had stopped, he'd have been welcome, and we'd have stayed out there as long as they wanted. Lastly, in November the 28th at 5:04 p.m., we had 3 public safety employees struck out on I-40 while they were on another MVC, which is a motor vehicle crash. All 3 gentlemen are back to work. They're on a limited basis. They seem to be doing well. They seem to be on track with their doctors. We appreciate all the thoughts and the prayers during this tragic event, and we want to believe that Charlie Arnett was sitting up there looking after them 3 guys, because I'm telling you, as Chief Padgett can testify, that was a very hard thing to roll up on and see your men, and they were men, all 3 of them, laying down on the ground and not knowing what was going on, and it was soaking. We were soaking wet, and they were soaking wet. So thank everybody for their thoughts and their prayers during that tragic time. That's all I have. If you have any questions?
We're supporting the bill in the legislature that I-40 incident where the 3 got hurt, that we'll be able to sue those people that were at fault for creating that, to be some revenue coming back to us that we've not been able to do in the past. If it passes, and it looks like it will, because that costs the town quite a bit of money.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Next, we have Planning and Development Services, Jennifer Tipton.
Good evening, Mayor, Board, citizens. For our second quarter in Planning and Development Services, starting out with our building inspections, we took in a total of $23,277.14 in fees for the quarter, issued 103 building permits, and performed 377 inspections. So our permit fees were up 58% from the last quarter in 2010-2011. Permits issued were up 12%, and building inspections were up 14%. This is just kind of a graph showing everything. The pictures are of the Ingalls construction before it actually all got boxed in. So, for our business privilege licenses, for the quarter, we issued 29 business licenses and took in $1,855. Privilege licenses were down 3%, and fees collected were down 23%. This was mostly due to the ban on the gaming industry. Since then, the Buncombe County Sheriff has actually lifted that ban, so we are able to collect those fees again at this time. And again, this is just a graph showing the numbers. For our zoning permits and inspections, for the quarter we had 11 complaints. We sent out 2 notices of violations, performed 14 zoning inspections. We issued 4 permanent sign permits and 2 temporary sign permits, and brought in $535 in permanent sign fees, $100 in temporary sign fees, and $250 in sign fees for the review. We did have a 3% increase in complaints, but a 33% decrease in the notices of violation that were sent out, and a 68% decrease in inspections. Most of that was just due to your slow time, being winter, not a lot going on. And again, just a graph kind of highlighting all of our numbers. Are there any questions?
Have we had any internet sweepstakes
We
open up?
have had 2. The Exxon station actually put their machines back in, and Timeout, she was actually here before. She is behind the Lucky Bamboo Cafe. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Next, we got Police Department, our interim chief, Steve Patchett.
Good evening. First of all, I'd just like to thank the community for all the support and kind words that you've given us at the police department. I think it's very important that we have that partnership with the community to be able to provide those services. And we just want to say thank you, and we appreciate that. We broke these down in quarters. 2010, the second quarter, versus 2011, the second quarter, to kind of give you a little idea of comparing the two. In calls for service, we were up slightly, not really a whole lot. And in training hours, we were up quite a bit from the second quarter of 2010 and the second quarter of 2011. Some of the things in the training notable would be we had 2 officers that was certified through our bicycle school. We had a hostage negotiation school, some leadership schools, traffic stops and criminal interdiction, and also some instructor development courses that officers obtained during that period. Also, some public education in October. We assisted Parks and Rec with safe routes to school by providing security and traffic control as the kids walked to school. We also assisted with the Swananoa Valley Christian Ministries Walk for Hunger, and also participated in the Halloween, the Governor's Highway Safety Program, Booze It and Lose It. In November, we assisted the Black Mountain Primary School with the tabletop exercise and school lockdown drills. And also in the same month, we participated in the Thanksgiving Click It or Ticket campaign, also through the Governor's Highway Safety Program. In December, we distributed at the primary and elementary schools to the parents and on high school students as goodie bags with highway safety information. That was also to include do not text and drive. we had a lot of wrecks throughout the state with that, and we're trying to get all that information out and distribute it to these folks, especially our high school students, and keeping them safe. If you'll notice the graph, the blue is the second quarter of 2010, and the gold or yellow is the second quarter of 2011 to compare the two. The incidents, we were slightly up from 91 to 98. We did have several motor vehicle breaking and enterings during that period. We did make an arrest in December and cleared several of those and have another person of interest. The one thing I would like to make sure that the community knows is please remove any valuables from your vehicles that are in plain view and lock your doors. These were crimes of opportunity where this gentleman walked down the street, looked into vehicles, saw GPS, a purse sitting on the front seat, and keys to vehicles, and they were unlocked. So please, by all means, make sure that you remove those items from your vehicles and lock them to hopefully prevent you being a victim in the future. Our citation charges were down. Mostly that's traffic. I think that we've made a really good effort in trying to reduce the speed. We still have a ways to go, but well, we're making some good efforts there. Total arrests were pretty much the same. Total charges were up a little bit. Traffic accidents was down. Again, I think that's contributed to speed enforcement and also getting folks to slow down, and that's huge for the traffic accidents to go down. Drug violations were slightly down from last year, and also the DWIs were down by a couple. In our second quarter events, of course, we had the Halloween, the big turnout. A lot of folks down in the Church Street area. That grows every year, and we want to thank special thanks to Sherry Williams and her famous Brunswick stew. She does feed us from time to time. Holly Jolly was a huge success again. I want to thank Business of Business for that. They do a great job, outstanding job during that event, and brings many folks to the downtown area. And of course, our Christmas parade was also a success. But the Christmas parade, you really don't know how many resources is used. And there are several, and that's the next slide. Our Auxiliary Reserve Police Unit provides many hours throughout the year, especially during the Christmas parade, Sourwood, 4th of July, and several other events that the town has. And without them, we could not be able to provide the resources for these events. So I want to make sure that we acknowledge that. There's the hours, there are 168 hours in October, 133 in November, and 161 hours in December. That's a total of 462 hours that they helped us and augment patrol and to be able to provide the services for these events. And that's a cost savings of $6,814.50 to the town, which I think that's really huge. You have any questions?
Thank you, Chief. Next, we've got our interim Public Services Director, Jamie Matthews.
Evening, Mayor and Board. Public services on work orders complete. Streets and Parks completed 567 work orders. Water had 140 with 10 leaks. Water cutoffs connections was 177. Sanitation was 30.
Before you go on there, that picture, is that the French drain that was installed on the lake there around the tennis courts?
It is.
Can you kind of give us an update on that and how it's working? And
yeah, I was going to get to it.
But excuse me, then go right ahead. Then,
okay. On our water systems, our water usage was 579,502 gallons a day. Water loss was 33.94 to 199,000 gallons per day. Water quality passed all water tests for the quarter. Thank Mark White for that. He done a good job on that, as always. And our water system projects, the Ridgecrest water line extension, T&K Utilities, Mark White, They done a good job. It's been implemented and was supposed to supply volume and pressure to Old Toll Circle. GIS GPS mapping project is going very well. Steve Harmon, Mark Kaliski, Mark have located 115 hydrants, 275 valves. The south side of town is complete. And Carolina Heights water system project. Mark's been working with Jesse Gardner on that to see if that's something that we can get implemented. Maybe something they was talking maybe as simple as some pressure reducers and adjusting some valves and putting in new water lines if possible. But we should know within the next month or so if it's something that we can do, so we're working on that. Hemfield water tank refurbishment, that's been put off till summertime because of the weather. It has to be pressure washed and painted, and the contractors that do that, they won't do it this time of year, so that's still in the making also. Infrastructure projects, our stormwater ditching, we're still working on that as weather lets us, because a lot of times we get a traco and either know it's our right of way, you get it in somebody's yard, they don't like our yard being tore up so bad. So when weather permitting, we're still working on that. Town hardware stormwater project, we completed that. For lack of better words, the project went well, but only to find out that when we put in the last junction box, the line adjacent to it collapsed also. So it's like a domino effect. Ours is good, and then it keeps going down the line. We're working on that under it's Valley Vista Realty, Joe Hyder's building. There's about 5 foot of pipe collapsed joining that building, and that's what we got to hook to. So we're actually going to dig in the morning, and we got MSD at no charge is going to come out and try to run a scope down through that pipe. And considering what kind of condition the pipe's in, maybe we can sleeve it. That's our best hope. That's what we're hoping for. If not, we're also working with Jesse Gardner, which it's an engineer, maybe working with DOT and tying into a system out into the street. And but anyway, we're working to get that done, and hopefully we can get that completed as soon as possible. Cherry Street restrooms, we completely redone them. I'd like to thank Lewis Melton for that. He done an excellent job. Tony Nix, I'd like to thank him and Danny. They put in some new hand dryers and exhaust fans. Lewis repainted all the stalls and done a lot of work in there, and they turned out really nice compared to the shape that they was in. On our infrastructure activities, we've been trimming some right-of-ways in the past quarter, some tree removals, one big tree on Brooks Cove. Done some storm drain repairs, like grate tops and stuff that been broken. I'd like to thank Billy and Joe Duncan. They done some excellent welding on them grates and got them back in order for us. We done some culvert replacements under some driveways that needed to be replaced. Our winter preparations, they were completed in this last quarter. We got our big sanders on the dump trucks and all the maintenance on them complete. On administrative projects, the dam's emergency action plan, the Army Corps of Engineers. Me and Dean have been working with Walter Green at the Army Corps of Engineers, and all funds have been paid on that. And we should receive a full report within the next 3 to 4 weeks. And then we can see what we need to do in the next steps of the process. We also had a sign assessment, which was completed with JM Teague. And that's to bring our signs around town, our signage up to national standards as far as reflectivity, height, distance apart. We'll be working on that, and we'll try to budget it out over X amount of years and get our signs where they need to be. Also, we purchased a new piece of equipment with POW bill funds, which was a skid steer. Come with 3 different attachments. It's going to be very useful and save on man hours. It's got a set of grapples, which will be good for brush and tree removal. It also has a bucket, which you can get in tighter areas, and we actually used it on the storm drain project. It's spreading gravel, loading our smaller sanders, and it come with a street broom, which will be interesting. I hope we don't get snow, but it should be able to be used on snow too, because we've had complaints in the past about downtown parking. and I'm anxious to see how it'll do. And also, it'll be a big help to keeping greenways clean. So we're proud of that piece of equipment. In parks maintenance, that's a pretty long list, so I'll try to brief through. Lake Tomahawk, the tennis court French drain, that was completed, and it turned out very well and seems to be working very well. I've been over there several times during the rains, and it's carrying, during hard rain, it carries a full pipe full of water. So, but we put in a 4-inch pipe, perforated, and it's a 140N material that keeps debris out. It was wrapped, and then we filled it with pea gravel. And because it was at lake level, instead of purchasing the storm box, we actually hand built the storm boxes, which worked very well. We just purchased a grate top, hand built it out of block, and it works. We've done it before, and it worked very well in this incident. And we're actually going to put 3 more in around the walking trail to try to keep the trail from washing out. We've rebuilt several trash receptacles where the wood was rotten or missing. We painted offices at Lakeview. There was a Seven Sisters sign. The Seven Sisters sign was replaced, and thank Friends of Lake Tomahawk and Carolyn Johnson for that. In case you'll have more details on that one, but everything was winterized: the pools, community garden, rec park, wellheads, Cherry Street restrooms. Gray Eagle, we redone the parking lot, moved some fence, took out some trees, rebuilt countertops, put new doors in, put new walls in, done some painting, fixed and made some gutter repairs. Carver, we replaced some walls, painted restrooms, and replaced door facings. Rec Park, we replaced the roof on the maintenance building, which was in need of replacing. We got that completed, so it ought to be good for many years to come. And I'd like to thank Tony Nix and Danny Nealon again. They replaced some lights under I-40 walk path going from community garden to Rec Park with a lot better light, more robust. LED light. It's a lot brighter so people can see when going under that underpass. And replaced some boards on the walk bridge, and then we done some greenway maintenance, and we rebuilt some damaged benches at Craigmont Park, and we got several more of them to replace some of them around the lake. And Marilyn from, if Marilyn here, she wanted me to mention some stuff on recycling, and I'd like to get her in here to. She can do it better than I can. So.
Bag lady.
And I do get a reputation. There are some new curbside items that are being accepted now. One broadened category and 2 new categories. So I want to make you all very aware of these things and show you some examples. And besides the good things about recycling, there is a definite economic benefit to it. The more you recycle, the more the town saves on landfill fees. It's a very direct relationship. And there's a common expression, money saved equals money earned. I mean, you get the idea. So I'm going to do a quick show and tell because I thought that would be a nicer way to do it. And just an aside that it is not GDS or Waste Pro who determines what is accepted. It's Curbside Management, our local recycling facility. And it's what they can do and what their facility can process and who they got people to market it to. So the most exciting thing is the broadened category of plastics. Now, before you could recycle number 1 to number 7 bottles and jugs where the neck was narrower than the base. But now you can do a whole range of items that are different, and I've done this just to give you a kind of a quick idea. The kinds of containers that can be recycled. Not only those kinds, but then you've got, which is really exciting, you've got all these different kinds of tubs of various descriptions. And for example, you've got these kinds of plastic things that are now accepted. So please take advantage of that. There are very few exceptions. There are a few. And let me show you. There's small things like little containers. Those are some bigger examples. But, you know, there are some little containers. Now, the absolute important thing is it must have a number on the bottom. Sometimes I've discovered that number is teeny tiny. Sometimes it's actually on the side, and sometimes it's even on the label. But it's got to have a number 1 to 7. Otherwise, it's not acceptable. So your pill containers, you know, and your spice jars and your toiletry items. So generally the categories are food products, which is most all of what I've shown you, personal care products, you know, you could have cream jars and stuff like that, as long as it has a number on it, number 1 through 7, and also household cleaners, but those are usually bottles and jugs anyway. The exceptions, which aren't many, it's before I get into exceptions, even things like this. Okay, it's got a number on this. This kind of thing can go as well. It's sort of a bigger example. Exceptions: no black microwavable trays. Okay, and they usually say these are not accepted. They have a number on them, but they are not accepted. Black microwavable trays. Never, ever, 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 ever put styrofoam in your recycling bin. Okay. And this kind of styrofoam is not accepted at our styrofoam collections. Okay, it has to be packaged in styrofoam. So hopefully someday we will be able to, but not right now. And another common plastic item are your salad containers. There's one kind that's not acceptable, and it's what they call, it's the compostable kind. And they'll often have the letters PLA on the back, but you'll see the insignia on the back. So that's the one exception. But that's a big bunch of things that are now acceptable. Then the two other categories that are now accepted are your aseptic packages. Okay, here are examples. They are usually liquids, like drinks and soups and broth. Sometimes they are also like diced tomatoes and tofu. But that's this stuff. You know, it's got that silver lining in it. If you look at that, you can see why some people call these brick packaging. Haulers really love it, manufacturers, because they can pack a whole lot of these things compared to round containers or other ones in a small amount of space. So it's efficient in terms of packaging. And of course, these are things that can sit on the shelf. They don't have to be refrigerated. So that's accepted or not accepted. This is one of the new categories called aseptic packaging or brick packages, or sometimes people just call them drink boxes. And the other category of new things is your waxed cartons. You know, commonly milk, orange juice, your creamer, things of that nature. So you have broad and plastics category, has to be 1 through 7, you know, in a food item or personal care or a cleaner. The brick packages or these. One other note, well, supposing you have, and I pose this question to curbside management, okay, my plastic container that you get CDs in, you know, you buy 50 or 100, you know, those, well, they got a number on them, but those don't go in because they're not a food category. Those would go into the hard to recycle collections. Even though they have a number on them, it has to be like a food product or a personal care or cleaner item. So you can make a difference. The more you recycle, the more you save the town money.
You know, our town does a great job on recycling, but I don't think we'd be 50% of where we are if it was not for her. She does a great job.
I'm glad she done that because I'd have made a mess of it. Yeah. The last comment I got is I'd like to thank everybody in our department. They've done a great job, and they continue to do a great job, and I'm very thankful because it makes my job a lot easier. And there's people, you know, that's in the department but outside the department that don't get recognized, and I'd like to think, you know, there's a lot more work goes into these reports than what people see. So Darlene, Janella, Pam Hohen, Mona, Laurel, and if I'm missing anybody, I apologize, but I'd just like to thank them because they're the ones that get me this information where I can put this together, and it makes everything a lot smoother. So working as a team is always the best, and I hope we continue to do so. So that's all I have if you got any questions.
Well, on behalf of the tennis group, I'll speak for them. They thank you very much for what you did down there and putting in that French drain, which if we could have done that years ago, that's before you came, we wouldn't have had the problems that we have now. So
Well,
thank you
it works
very
very
much.
well. I was very pleased with how it turned out. So.
Jim, where do we stand on our ADA compliance or the ADA projects?
ADA, as far as I understand, is sort of on hold right now. I know we got started on it, and then it got put on hold till further notice on when to get it put in. I know a lot of the stuff was ordered wrong, and we were sending it back to get the correct stuff. So.
Any other questions, Jamie? Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie, and our thanks to Marilyn too for her part
Yeah.
in that. That was great. That was great. Okay, last we have Recreation Services, Casey Connor.
Mayor, Board. It's tough following something so educational. Hopefully I can, you know, come. Yeah, a quarter of that would be great for me. Just a little note on something that Jamie was touching on there at the end. All of the door handles have been replaced at the Carver Center. There was quite a bit of work to put into those, but those have been done recently. So. For the athletics, our youth basketball program, we had 152 participants this year, 17 teams, which included our kindergarten through fourth grade kids that all played here in town. And we also had the fifth through eighth grade kids who played in a joint league with Asheville Buncombe Youth Basketball. Our indoor soccer league, we had 121 participants, which was 14 teams. We had a high school co-ed league, which was 6 teams. That's approximately 60 players. And our dodgeball league in the fall had 6 teams as well, which is approximately 48 players for that. And here's some pictures of our Start Smart kids and some dodgeball and our basketball league as well. Our health and wellness, we completed the community garden trail. We also had our Safe Routes to School Day. We had approximately 90 participants for that. We partnered with the police department. They helped us out a bunch with that, and the Greenways. You can see some pictures of that activity there. The health initiative, the fresh produce distribution, handed out produce to 171 households, 436 people, and it was over 1,900 pounds of produce. That takes place at the Carver Community Center the last Thursday of every month. The community garden produced over 2,000 pounds of vegetables last season. We also prepared a site for an edible orchard, which was from a grant that we received. That will be on the hillside just above the community garden. We had 358 hours of volunteer labor at the garden, and we also took place in a Christmas tree recycling program there. senior center activities. We had Van Clan trips. We had 6 trips, approximately 60 attendees. One trip was to Greenville, South Carolina. Another was a play at the Magnetic Field. And we also went to Lake Julian for the lights in December. The Friends of Lake Tomahawk installed the new Seven Sisters sign. They also planted 350 daffodil bulbs around the lake, and as well as creating the, in the lower right-hand picture there, the stonework that is around the base of the sign, as well as around the bench that's just adjacent to it. And there's some more stonework that'll be done in the spring. And all that was paid for through the Friends of Lake Tomahawk donation money. We also installed new AEDs at the Carver Center and the Senior Center, which has been mentioned before. We appreciate your efforts in that, Mr. Rader, Alderman Rader. The special events, we had the Halloween Carnival. We had consists of games, magicians, crafts, entertainment. We had over 400 attendees for that. Circle of Lights, which was held just after the Christmas parade. We had over 300 people there, which includes Santa, luminaries, music, hay rides. That was very successful this year. And some of the things that we've got coming up in the next quarter, or now, completion of the youth basketball and indoor soccer leagues. Those will be wrapping up at the end of this month. And the Valentine race we actually held this past Saturday, and we had a little over 200 participants for that. It was cold, from what I understand. I wasn't able to be there, but you know, it was well attended. We've got the Easter egg hunt coming up March 31st. That'll be at 10 a.m. at Rec Park, and also the Greenway Challenge. It's a 5K, 10K to raise money for the Greenways. That'll be March 31st also at 1 p.m. at Pisgah Brewery. And we're also taking Start Smart soccer registrations now, and that'll be held, that'll start March 17th. So, any questions?
Is the state still doing the Fit City program?
I'm not familiar with that.
You know, we've won the award a couple of times, and with all you're doing, I would think you would qualify again for it. If it's
actually, I think I'll check into that.
Check with Carolyn. Carolyn was instrumental in a lot of it.
Yeah, she had. I think I do know what you're talking about.
There's another thing. I wish there was some way, and I don't know the answer to this, you can give us a number on your disc golf players, because I know it's a very, very high number.
It is. Yeah, the front nine was built in 2000. Randy Wilson installed it. The back nine was installed from a grant from Buncombe County. So we have 18 holes. And it is played rain, shine, wind. It doesn't matter. There's somebody out there playing disc golf. So it is definitely a good bang for the buck.
I've been walking over there a lot, and one guy has a dog that goes in the creek to get his disc. But another guy's got it made better. He's got a girlfriend that goes in there like that's his.
Thank you.
Thank you, Casey. Thank you very much. And I just want to thank everyone tonight that made a presentation. And I just hope that everyone here and everyone watching, our board, mayor, everyone is as impressed as I have been with what all these, what our leadership team is doing. I'm extremely, as I said in the beginning, extremely impressed. And the last thing I'll say, to the board and mayor, don't forget the employee award luncheon. That's this Friday at 12 o'clock at the fire department Bay area. That will be this Friday, this coming Friday. And I thank everyone, again, thank everyone that made the presentation tonight. Maybe that's all I
Thank you. Give me my regrets now. I'll be in Louisville, Kentucky that day, and I'm sorry about it. The communication from Mayor and Board of Aldermen. Does the board have any communications?
I do.
Okay.
Anybody else want to go first?
Go ahead.
I also attended the Martin Luther King breakfast the other day and want to give kudos to the folks who helped pull that off. It was very well planned. I know that lots of tickets were sold. We filled up, I believe we filled up almost all the chairs in the auditorium. Reverend Audrey Love did an excellent job of delivering an excellent message about being peacekeepers and often referring to Dr. King. It was a great pleasure of mine to hear some of our fellow aldermen here tonight refer to that event and discuss how, we should utilize that lesson that she taught us into our everyday activities here in town. I can't wait to see who they get for next year. I'm glad that the mayor honored my request and reading the resolution for Chief Presley. Chief Presley was a major plus for the town of Black Mountain. He did a lot of good things here for us. And one of my concerns in previous board meetings was that how he was treated in one of our closed sessions meetings by this board. Chief Presley showed a lot of character, a lot of class, a lot of integrity. He showed just a lot of just plain guts and standing up for what he believed in. And Chief Presley is an honor to this town, and if he were here tonight, I'd say that to his face. I'd like to piggyback what Mr. Green said, Mr. Allen Green said. We had our first open town hall meeting at the library, and I was very encouraged by the 70+ people that showed up. WLOS was there and they got it wrong. They only said 50 people showed up, but I think the final count was over 70. Had a lot of good ideas, a lot of good concerns, a lot of good topics were discussed. I was very pleased to see some of our former aldermen in attendance and also Alderman Sobel, who was in attendance. I would echo what Mr. Green said in that I would ask for the other aldermen not to be present at my meeting. I would ask that you conduct your own meetings, and that way you can reach out with citizens also. I think it would be a much better thing for them to be able to, talk more with you one-on-one. We are going to do it every month, and like I said, I was very pleased. I don't think we'll do it this week or next week. My wife is having surgery, and so I'll be out with her for several weeks. ADA-wise, I'm kind of concerned about that, Al.
We will, we'll look into that and see where we are, see where we need to go.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, sir. I do. I know this grant application has got a lot of folks up in arms, and there's a lot of things, floating around. This thing started out November the 14th with the first public hearing. Joan Brown opened it up. It was voted on 5-0 to, proceed with it. As far as the, phase 1 has to be 2. We got a request from one of our citizens to discuss some things, and Maggie and Carl and myself, we met with Kathy Robertson and discussed some of the issues that she had, and she had some things that we went back to our grant facilitator, Land of the Sky. And make a long story short, that's why we're having this thing in a couple weeks. Guys, there's no way that you can find out what's going on unless you bring all the parties back together, bring the Land of the Sky lady back in here, and just have a opportunity to ask questions and put this to bed and put it to rest.
Chief Jones and I met with DOT people about the sign that we're requesting at the top of the mountain regarding hazardous weather conditions and when there's a wreck and those type things. Looks like a sign's going to cost about $125,000. There's some money in that fund with the state, we were told, so hopefully we'll be able to do that. But they didn't give us any hope for it being done immediately, but they talked like maybe somewhere 18 to 24 months it possibly could be done, if I believe I'm correct on that. They were looking into it, and also looking into it, the possibility of maybe moving one that somewhere else. Once I started looking at these signs, now I see they're all over the state, and we need one here worse than any one I saw this past weekend as I traveled across the state. This time we'll have citizen comments. Elaine Lutzenheiser.
Elaine Lotzenheiser, 410 Avena Road. While I would agree that Ingalls does supply jobs in this valley, they surely didn't add this $80 million, that's your word, warehouse, and not plan anyway to hire additional employees. And how do they plan to provide a second in or out entrance, which safety requirements should certainly require? I'd like to read something from the Municipal Government in North Carolina. The role of mayor. The mayor is directly elected by the city's qualified voters, except in a few places where election is by the city council from its members. The mayor is recognized as the head of the municipal government and usually is its spokesperson, but he or she has only the limited authority granted by the city's charter and the general laws of the state. He or she presides at meetings of the council, is the city's representative for ceremonial purposes, and has whatever other powers and duties the city council assigns, if any. Any power and influence that the mayor enjoys, I quote, usually results from force and vigor of personality rather than from legal authority. Unless the city charter provides otherwise, a mayor elected directly has the right to vote on council matters when there is a tie vote of the council. General Statutes 160A-69.
About got that memorized.
But you don't adhere to it.
Rick Watson.
It's been a long night. I'll try to be quick. Come with bearing good news and bad. Or not bad, but I'm a little confused. I was told to go Monday to sign up if you wanted to be on the agenda. So I quit work, came up here at 3 o'clock Monday, last Monday. I requested to be on the agenda with 2 items. Was told the agenda was gone, I think the words were, at 3 o'clock. Now, I don't know what gone means, but I'm pretty sure that was the exact words. So she said she'd let me talk to Mr. Richardson, and I'd like to thank you for resolving one of the issues. I believe we've got a fair understanding of what happened. It's just a misunderstanding between me and the mayor. I hope that is what happened. And I think we'll prove that true in the following days when we get into the DOT easements on Grovestone Road. Because DOT does not have an easement on Grovestone Road, and I own both sides of it. So we'll see where you come out on that one and communicating with me. I hear you want to, Don, you've said it many times, Black Mountain can be good. Everybody, I'm a little confused tonight. Talking about taxpayers and $6,000 is important and $5,000 is important, and let's get along. And you can't have cooperation if you don't have communication. You can't. We hear one thing out of you, and then the next time we turn around, there's another meeting over here that contradicts what was going on over here. We can't trust anybody that works like that. Do you understand where we're coming from? The taxpayers. You spending our taxpayer money and not telling us what you're spending it on. Now, that brings me to my second issue. My wife sat here and handed you all the information you needed, and it was highlighted very specifically that we gave Ingalls a private entrance to their facility. We sold them a private entrance to their facility. At least enough to pay the lawyers and other people involved. You cannot make that private entrance a public entrance. You cannot. What am I going to do? Call the chief of police to come up? Which one of y'all am I going to call to have arrested for trespassing across my land? Why can you not read what was put in front of you? You do not have a public entrance to Ingalls. It cannot be a public infrastructure if you do not have a public entrance. What do you not understand? What do you not understand? It don't need to go any farther. Ingalls was asked, do they want to purchase the property for their own use? They said, no, we are not buying the land. We're not going to purchase it. Issue closed. Southern Railway cannot give the town of Black Mountain an easement. Only I can. Only my wife can. And I will not. Because they're not going to get it. They said they didn't want it. It's in front of every one of you. And it's highlighted. We don't need to meet the 27th, Don. It can't happen. It cannot happen unless somebody is lying about how they're going to make a private entrance public. If they are, tell me right now. Let's be honest and get along and do what we're asking them to do. Right now, somebody tell me.
I would think that you can move the grant from the entrance to the building.
You cannot get to the building without going across our property.
It wouldn't matter then if it was a private or whatever.
See, that's what I mean. We're going around a back door with a loophole, and there we go. I took on Southern Railway. Don't think a minute I won't take on the town of Black Mountain.
Smiling John DeWitt.
Thank you, Alderman, for approving the Town Square project. We appreciate it, those of us who've been working on it for 2 years. The one thing I want to bring across is how do you donate the money? We forgot that little mention, community, that. The committee is recommending that we fund it at different levels and that individuals can contribute. And for example, for $250,000, you can get a garden named after you. But what we're seeing is that people will be setting up an account and contributing to it very much like they are doing right now for Mrs. Headley, who had passed away this year. People are making donations, and all those donations will be combined into one account. And hopefully we're receiving some major contributions, and we'll be able to name a park, a garden within the park, Mrs. Headley's Park, in recognition of the outstanding work that she had done in this town for many, many years. Likewise, the building can be named by somebody, a bench can be named by somebody, a brick. You saw all the bricks there. We'll be selling those bricks probably for $1,000 a piece, kind of a thing. So our goal is to raise $1.5 million, but there is a designated a way you can do it. We will have brochures out within a week or so now. It's approved, which will give you an explanation of how you can contribute money. All the money is tax exempt because the money will go to the foundation. As you know, we set up the Black Mountain Parks and Greenways Foundation, which is a 501(c), so people that give donations can write it off on their taxes as a contribution. Do not make the check out to the town because A, it's not a tax exempt, and B, it needs to come to the foundation and not to the town. Tom Gill and I will be available to meet with people. The brochures will be widely distributed. The News Journal will be writing a lot on this, I'm sure. And we'll be glad to meet with anybody, speak to groups about this, but our goal is $1.5 million. So it is tax exempt, and we're ready to collect. I'll be at the door with the checks. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anything else? No objection? I shall declare us adjourned.
Wise, I'm kind of concerned about that, Al.
We will, we'll look into that and see where we are, see where we need to go.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, sir. I do. I know this grant application has got a lot of folks up in arms, and there's a lot of things, floating around. This thing started out November the 14th with the first public hearing. Joan Brown opened it up. It was voted on 5-0 to, proceed with it. As far as the, phase one has to be 2. We got a request from one of our citizens to discuss some things, and Maggie and Carl and myself, we met